Alright, in this video I'm going to show you how to replace the motor in a Nutone exhaust fan. This one is almost 20 years old and it is starting to make some pretty gnarly grinding noises and not work consistently. So rather than replacing the entire fan, which can be much more expensive and sometimes require access from an attic above the room, which you might not even have in a finished house, we are just going to remove and disassemble it, replace the motor, and then reinstall it. The first step in this process, as when working with any appliance, is to make sure the power is off before you start disassembling things. And then for this model, this plastic cover over the light just snaps into place, so I'm going to pop that off. Next, I am going to unscrew the light bulb, which is going to give me access to a wing nut behind the bulb that is holding on this metal housing around the bulb, which in turn holds this plastic outer cover. So I'm going to zoom in there so you can see that wing nut. It's just a single wing nut on this bolt. I'm going to need to put my phone down and use both hands to do this, but I'm going to unscrew that and then pull off, again, the metal housing around the bulb and the plastic cover. So I got that wing nut off. This is where you have to be careful not to start dropping things on your head, because that is all now just dangling by a wire that is plugged into one of two outlets up here. One of them is for the light and one of them is for the fan. So again, I'm going to put my phone down so I can do this with both hands, but I'm going to unplug the wire that the light fixture is dangling from and remove that completely. Okay, now the light fixture is out of the way so we can see the bottom of the blower assembly. Again, there's another plug here for the fan motor. I'm going to pull that out. And to remove this part, I have two tabs on this side that are sort of slid into the side, and there's one Phillips head screw on this side right next to the plug. So I'm going to undo that screw. This side is going to drop down, and then the whole thing slides out. And again, I'm going to have to put my phone down to film that. But take the screw out first, hold it, make sure you don't drop it on your head, lower this side, and then slide the tabs out, and you can remove the entire blower unit. Okay, I got that screw out. Again, this side lowers down, those tabs pull out, this whole unit comes out, and we can see the ductwork and the wiring above that. All of that you can leave in place. We are just going to remove the motor from this unit, replace it with a new one, and then reinstall everything. Once you've got that removed, you will want to look for writing and find the model number to make sure you are ordering the right replacement parts. So this is model 763RLNB unit for use with models 763RL/769RL A unit only. So you can just Google the model number and find it. These are on Amazon. And at least when I searched for when I was making this video, this entire unit was available for somewhere between $65 and $80. But I could get just the motor and the fan blade for like 20 bucks. So it's a little crazy to pay an extra $50 basically just for the piece of sheet metal, in my opinion. So I am going to order just the motor. Again, you want to double check your part numbers and compatibility and make sure you're ordering the right thing. And it looks like all we need to do to take the motor off, it's held on by two bolts here with these two nuts. So I'm going to remove that, take the old motor off, and then when the new part arrives from Amazon, swap that in and put everything back together. Here is the box for the replacement unit, so it looks legit, unless this is a very good counterfeit with the company names or anything. Nothing seems misspelled, so I know it can be dicey sometimes with buying replacement parts on Amazon, but I think this is the real thing, so we're going to open it up, see if it is indeed a match to the original part, swap it into this plate, and then go reinstall everything. So, of course, it turns out I might have spoken a little too soon. Upon double-checking the part numbers, it looks like this is on me as opposed to Amazon being wrong. This is not exactly the same thing or compatible with exactly the same models. I was just going off the picture and thought it looked like exactly the same thing, but you can see the dimensions are not exactly the same. The new one is a little thicker, and the shaft for the fan blade is a little longer. And there are some comments on Amazon saying that this is too long and it actually makes the fan blade bump up against the ceiling in the enclosure and then prevent it from spinning. But rather than ordering another one, I guess I'm going to put it together and see if that fits, and then maybe if I can trim this down or something if needed, like some of the comments have said people did to make it work. So I am going to assemble this, see if it works, and if not, then I guess it's back to make sure I actually order the right thing on Amazon this time. So here you can see I have bolted the new motor into place, And the fan blade came separately, it was not pressed onto the shaft yet. And I am reading the directions, which just say to basically push the new blower wheel onto new motor shaft so it is flush with the end of the shaft. I'm trying to do that here, and it is taking a lot of force to push it on. I'm a little worried I'm going to break it if I push too hard, because if I look at the old one, you can see how the shaft actually pokes through the top a little bit. I'm pressing on this one, and it's not quite flush yet, so I don't know if I'm going to get a mallet or something and tap on that gently, because it doesn't really feel like it's going to hold up to being hit by a hammer. So we'll see what happens if I tap on that and try and get that flush. But again, that shaft is longer than the old one, so if I try and hold these level here, you can see how that's a good ½ inch taller maybe. So I don't know if this is actually going to fit my enclosure, but I'm going to get this on there as far as I can, and then we're going to go check that out. Alright, so you probably can't see all the way up there right now because it's too dark, but this does fit, but when I can reach up there and try to spin the fan blade, I can tell that it is actually grinding against the roof of the enclosure, so that shaft is too long. So again, that appears to be on me for buying the wrong part. I am now going to go double check Amazon and see if I can get the motor for this fan, and I guess if I can't, I am just going to cut that shaft down and press the fan blade on and maybe use some epoxy or something to make sure it stays on there, since it won't have the grooves on the end of the shaft after I cut it off, and just go with that instead of ordering a new one. Okay, let's try this again. I was able to just press gently but firmly and get that a little farther onto the shaft, so I should now have clearance. I'm just going to take my Dremel and snip the top of that shaft off so that isn't grinding against the top of the enclosure, and then hopefully we will be good to go. So there we have, I just Dremeled maybe 1/8 of an inch off the top of that shaft, and I don't have enough hands to film this, but when I pop this up there, the fan blade, see if I can zoom out, now spins without grinding on the top at all. Again, you can't see it because I can't really get a light or get a good view of my phone in there, but whereas previously, the top of this was just totally grinding against the top surface in there. Now I have enough clearance for that to spin freely, so I am now going to follow the reverse process to assemble everything again. The opposite of what I did to take it apart, so I'm going to slide in those two tabs on that side, and then push this side up, and there's a screw right there by the outlets that I'm going to put in, and then we'll get the light fixture back in, and the front cover and grill, and get everything back together. So there we go, I've got that screw in, I've plugged my fan in. Now is a good time to make sure the new fan works before you put the rest of the cover back on, so I'm going to flip the switch. That's the wrong switch, make sure you have it plugged into the right outlet if you are sure, or used to, one of the switches being for the light, one being for the fan. There we go, so again, you probably can't see that, but we can clearly hear it making a nice even sound with no grinding or uneven noises like I was getting with the old motor. So we should be good to go to now put on the light fixture and the front grille. Alright, so here is the receptacle for the light and the plastic front cover. Again, I don't quite have enough hands to film all of this, but that is going to slide over a hole for the bolt that sticks down there, and then a wing nut is going to go onto that bolt. Looks like, there we go. And then once the wing nut is on, I'm going to screw the light bulb in and pop the plastic cover on the front, and we are all done. Oops, and I forgot to mention, of course, you want to make sure you plug the light in before you do that, because you're not going to have access to the plug after you get that wing nut screwed on. Alright, here we go. I have the bolt through the center hole there. I had it through the wrong hole earlier because that was hard to do with one hand. The wing nut is on there nice and tight. I'm going to screw the light bulb back in. Go ahead and double check my switches again to make sure that the light and the fan are both working. And then all that is left to do is pop this plastic front cover back on, and we are all done. So hopefully you found that helpful. Even if you don't have this exact model fan, the procedure for yours may be similar. If you did find it helpful, please subscribe and check out the rest of our channel for more DIY and home how-to videos.